Hello.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. So I normally start this podcast by going, "Hi everyone,
Yeah, I know.
I'm Sam Morse. Welcome to the Car Chat podcast." And with us this week we have Sid North.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, so
Multiple cameras.
we're in a bit of we've got some lovely curtains behind us for those that are watching on the video. In
beautiful
the rental I'm in
decor
at the
you've got
moment.
here.
Yeah, they're great. So we're in a tiny little studio actually.
Yeah.
It's a room, but I've set up some lights.
You've moved up in the last 3 years. You've got multiple cameras. I remember we had one camera.
Tell you
now
what,
we've got
though,
lights and whatnot.
it is a right pain in the ass having
Yeah, I
multiple
can
cameras.
imagine. I mean, whoever did you edit this?
No.
I was going to. Right, whoever your editor is, yeah, God bless.
It's all
them.
right actually because I think they'll sync. It should all sync. The audio and everything will sync okay. It's when you start using like GoPros and different things where they you start at the same time but they don't finish at the same time.
Okay.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Or if you use a DJI mic, have you got some of this?
I've got the Rode.
You got the Rode, right? If you record a really long time, like an hour, does it break it up into clips? It might do.
I've never done videos
Yeah.
longer than an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's been issues with GoPros.
Yeah, basically anything that chops your video up, like your camera might do it. If you record it can only record for 15 minutes and then it creates a new clip.
Does a block? Yeah. Sony's do it as well.
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah. You lose a small fraction of time every time it creates a new clip.
Oh,
So the timing goes out as they get longer.
that must be a right pain in the edit.
Yeah, I
because
think
then
it's
you
a
get
right
that
fact.
gap, and then you watch it back and you're like, oh no. Yeah.
Well, for those listening and that don't want to know about recording video and podcasts and whatever, let's explain. So you have been on the podcast. This is actually your third time on the podcast.
Is it actually?
Yeah, you were one of the first people.
Yeah, I remember it being one of the first.
I think we recorded in my kitchen way back 2 houses ago.
Yeah.
And
Time
then
flies, doesn't it?
and then you came on again in March. I was looking this up. March 2020, sort of pre all the COVID
Yep.
carnage. And at that time, I think you were referred to as Sideways Sid. Or maybe actually you just changed. I think you might have just changed.
I just changed. March 2020. Yeah, that would have been Sid North. The transition.
Sid's transition.
Yeah,
that's going to be the
transition.
title of this.
Yeah, that's
this clip.
it. Well, it's what 3 years in. You know?
Yeah. So and then now, I thought it was a good time because we actually chat a lot.
Yeah.
Generally, Sid will call me up and say, "What?
Yeah. You're right. How's it going?
How's it going?"
And then we'll talk bollocks about cars for God knows how
2
long.
hours or so.
Yeah.
And
Classic.
yeah, I thought it would be good to get you back in the podcast, talk about what you're up to because you've done a reasonable amount in the interim.
Yeah. There's been a few bits going on.
Yeah, just chat cars, whatnot, all that rubbish. I've got some vague topics to discuss, as you do. If you've got any,
Mate,
as you do,
you
topics
know
you'd
and
like
I know. This doesn't feel like a podcast. It just feels like I'm speaking to you on the phone. So it could go on for a really long time.
we'll try and cap it at
Yeah.
a certain time. Right. Well, let's just start off with a bit of a catch up in what you've been doing in the interim. You've sort of bought and sold a few cars.
Yeah.
Just having a look. You had a Clio 182 for a while. Do you still have that? No.
Yeah. No. That went August, September of 2020.
Oh, okay.
Didn't stay with me too long. But then I've had a load of other cars off camera. I think 4 more Clio 182s came and went.
4. Was that? How come so many?
Just obsessed with them. I just love the way they drive. There's just something. Well, I think it started off with that one being one of those. I think I remember telling you that was a sort of late night. I think it popped up on Piston Heads and went up to Huddersfield with my mate Charlie. Shout out Charlie if you're watching this. And bought this Clio for 1,500 quid and they've now doubled since then. And then I got rid of it, But you know about this with cars. If you love cars so much, it's a love-hate relationship. You love it, then you hate it, then you get rid of it, and then you're like, oh, I want it back. But I've done it too many times. So,
and to do it so many times with the same car. Did you make some money on each of those?
Yeah, a couple
sales?
of them I did. One of them was I was stuck in traffic. M25, and there was a black 182 there. And literally I just looked at the woman and I just waved her down. She thought I was trying to pull her or something. I was like, no. I'm more interested in the car. And I said, we exchanged details on the motorway.
On the street.
Yeah, literally as we're cruising along. I just said, just go on Sid North Instagram, just do that. Didn't hear from her for a while. And then all of a sudden she messaged, she said, look, I'm getting rid of it. Do you want to buy it? And that was it. And then I ran around in that for a bit. But I just love being in them. I don't know what it is. They're not necessarily the best hot hatch in the world, but it's just fizzing with energy, and there's lots to love about them. I mean, interiors are just made out of, I don't know what it is. It's absolutely awful. All the rubbers around the steering wheel, and it's terrible. It's terrible. You do not want to sleep in there for the night, or even want to have an house kit. It's noisy. Things break, but they're good cars, to be fair. But you know me, like I go for a phase. I might go look. I might look at an old barge and go, oh yeah, let's try a bit of that. Then afterwards, okay, we've done with barges. Let's look at something on the cheaper end. I'm trying to, I don't know, it's, the maximum amount of car for little money.
Well, yeah, that's always a good equation to go for.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to keep looking out for. We spoke about this a couple of weeks back with the B7 RS4.
Yeah.
That's a car, isn't it?
That is.
You should get one.
Well, I've kind of got the current.
Oh yeah,
best.
yeah, you've got that. You've got the best of the best, really.
The only thing that is I'm not winning with the E63 is I probably am winning the depreciation race in the wrong way.
Yeah, it wouldn't usually go that way, but all big Mercedes.
It's going straight down.
Yeah,
it's heading to zero very fast.
Yeah.
But no, looking back, I think at the moment. It's not something I'd written down to talk about, but actually right now with interest rates and like borrowing is more expensive. Cars are generally really expensive right now.
They are.
I think a lot of people must be looking at the car market and going like, I want to buy a new car, but like, what do I buy? Not with the usual, I'm excited about buying lots, just the sort of petrol head side of it, but just like, what do I buy? Because I don't want to get done over in the next 12 months, but also get the car that I want to get, sort of thing. It's difficult, isn't it?
It's difficult, and obviously, without sounding boring, cost of living's gone up. So
100%.
Do you want to buy a car? Really, if you've already got what you got, do you want to then go spend that extra money and buy something else? Which we all do, man maths. But then at the same time, I'm the same. I always look for something new, and I'm thinking, right, what do I get? And then you look at the interest rates, and then you look at those cars, and you think, well, hang on a minute, they're a lot more expensive than when I first looked at them.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I don't know, maybe it's age, I don't know, but now you look at it and you think, well, because we know the car market's obviously in a bubble. We don't know when it's going to. We don't know when it's going to burst. Do you really want to buy that car and then be stuck with it?
Yeah.
In which case, if you want to be stuck with a car, pick the one you want, as in pick what you love.
Yeah. And that's it. You've just accepted you're going to keep it for a long time. Yeah. You're not going to try and sell it. Someone was telling me recently, I don't think I talked about this on a podcast, that there's a lot of people moaning. I don't know whether moaning is the right word. Apparently, there's a lot of people that bought new EVs in the last 2 years. This is a sort of Twitter topic that keeps coming up at the moment, that people are anecdotally talking about. I know someone that bought an EV a year ago and they're really annoyed that it's depreciated a lot. Fair. But like my E63, if you buy, my opinion on this at the moment is there's loads of people that went out and bought through a business or in association with something like that, a brand new high-end saloon, essentially, whether it's a Taycan, whether it's a whatever, any of the EVs,
any of those big motors,
and they've gone for the big ones, and then the second-hand market for that just doesn't really exist. Like it does, but the people that would buy it will buy it new because they get the benefits of running it through a business.
Yeah.
So the people you want to sell your car to in a year's time or 2 years' time or whatever, they aren't there.
No, they don't exist yet.
So your brand new Taycan Turbo S, which...
Where'd you put it?
Was a great 2-year buy if you bought it in 2020 because supply was so low. But now supply is coming up.
Yeah, and it's only going to... Well, eventually by the end of the year, it should be...
Should be, or yeah, like I don't know about all the chips and stuff, but it's. I heard that and I was like, well, what do you expect, guys? Like seriously, what do you expect? You've spent all the money on the highest spec, fundamentally mainstream vehicle. Like we know big saloons with all the engine, etc.
They tank in money.
Always tank.
Yeah.
Just over 5 years, you're going to lose at least like 10 grand a year. Just like bump, 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 bump.
I think what's happened is obviously because of the way of the car market and how it's been over the last, 2-3 years, people have, subconsciously thought, well, yeah, I'll buy that Turbo S Taycan.
I know.
I'll be all right. A year or two, I might lose 10, 15K, whatever. And now they've come to realisation, which was normal to begin with, that, their car's about 30, 40 grand upside down. But then, like you said, because they're electric cars, where do you price them? Is there a depletion in the battery over a certain amount of no one knows. Everyone's in the unknown at the minute, aren't they?
And loads of... it's basically impossible, because I'm looking at getting another EV at the moment, but it's impossible to get battery data when you're trying to buy a car. It's not impossible, but like most retailers on their website won't give you this is where the battery's at. Like if you look on your iPhone, it'll tell you your battery is at 90% of its original capacity. And then once it's gone past 85, that's considered, I think by the industry, as like degraded. It'll keep working after that, but after that point, it starts dropping fast.
Mine's on 68 or something.
Really?
Like that. Yeah. It's had its day.
And what's your experience? Is that like, does that battery feel dead, or it just feels like less than normal?
It's crap. It doesn't, it's totally crap. And then someone told me like, yeah, you need to do the battery on it. But me being me, I've just not got around to it. But yeah, because I was gonna throw it away. I'm thinking this phone's lost it.
Done.
Because those misconceptions of Apple, isn't it? After you have a certain, if you've got a certain model of iPhone after a certain amount of time,
yeah, they sort of kill it.
They kill it.
I don't think they do.
I don't know. I've got a friend who works in the motor trade, and he's got a bug for Bentleys. He reckons at the moment the warranty finishes on it, they program and inject. Yeah, he genuinely believes that. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to call him out for it. But that's. I was like, mate, you're tripping, and he goes, no. He's had it a few times on a couple of contents.
It's an interesting concept, isn't it? Because previously there was a time where it was like, I don't know when it was, when brands like Mercedes were literally building cars that they thought would last forever.
Yeah,
and they were building them kind of to last forever. That was the idea.
Well, Mercedes was the byword of reliability and quality. Yeah. Their R&D was, enormous.
Now probably Toyota or someone. Like if you want to get stuff that will last like a really long time. But then loads of other manufacturers, you look at stuff now and go, I mean, ultimately they sell it with a warranty. And like, do they really care what happens after that time? I suspect if your cars all started falling apart after 3 years, people would stop buying them.
Yeah,
wow, it's tricky though, isn't it?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? It's down to the consumer whether they're cool, relaxed. Some people don't have the patience for cars. They might have an engine management light that pops up. If it pops up twice, I don't want it.
Yeah, get rid.
On the phone, hand it back, all that nonsense. So I think it's each to their own when it comes to that sort of thing. But it's definitely a given that manufacturers they're being very clever. They realise, hang on a minute, we've started over engineering cars, and truthfully speaking, no one gives a flying
costs us
crap.
money.
It's costing us money. So what we'll do is we'll put some flashing lights, like the A class. You know, I've been told that the A class is coming to an end of its life. They're only going to keep the CLA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is mental in my opinion, because I see the darn things everywhere.
Yeah, small hatchbacks.
Yeah,
and or like that size of hatchback, like especially like around here where I used to live, like you just get the high end small hatchbacks, and then the other people's car will probably be like a large luxury SUV or something, and then maybe some fancy sports car or whatever. But like, you can't replace that small hatchback. Everyone still wants a small car.
of course. Yeah, I love small hatchbacks, especially for town driving. Why do you need a big SUV?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be a hater or anything like that. You just don't need it. You know, I came down here on a train. You know, it was easier. But yeah, going back to the manufacturers, you know, they realised, hang on a minute. Well, A class is obviously their entry level car from Mercedes-Benz. When that car came out, 3-4 years ago,
Is that old?
What, probably longer than that. I mean,
Must be a lot longer than that.
2018 or 5.
Because it came out with, and then it had the big facelift where it got all the displays and stuff.
Yeah, well, it came with all these screens, didn't they? And it had that augmented like sat nav, you know, with a camera, and it shows you all the signs and all that sort of thing, and hey Mercedes and all that.
But that was only after a while.
You sure?
Yeah, like first A45 didn't have any of that rubbish. I say rubbish. I like that stuff. Didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Like when was the first A45? I remember
the original A45. Are we talking about
the current shape?
2012,
13, 14, 15?
No, well, sorry, I'm bugging out here. So A class, A45.
The A class that we know at the moment.
Yeah.
When did that?
2019, isn't it? Is it 2019?
You reckon 2019?
Yeah, it is 2019 because they unveiled it at Goodwood. They did. Defo.
Compact executive class came out in 20...
Because Adam Christo was sending it up the hill. It was a prototype one at the time, if you remember.
Nah, so there was an absolute shocker of an old one.
Oh, yeah. Are you actually on about the original A45?
No, I mean like the one you can buy now, but the previous...
Yeah, 2019.
2019? Really?
And then you're right, there was an update, wasn't there? I think they gave it some... God, the A class has come a long way, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
A45.
Did you ever see that infamous moose test of the A class?
Is this trying to dodge a moose and then just doing I
don't know. It might have been it didn't go well. It went on 2 wheels, and I think they had to pull the car out for 6 months. And then that was where the dawn of Mercedes ESC came in.
You're right. 2018.
Oh, it's 2018.
That's a lot newer than I thought it was. Well, then I guess did the A45 that didn't come out straight away. So it's the W177 Mercedes.
Yeah, we're gonna remember that. We're gonna remember that. But
anyway, words.
But yeah, no. They've obviously cars have now. It's all about the latest tech. It's not really much about build quality. They'll still build it to a degree where obviously it lasts.
Yeah.
But they're taking away some of those quality elements. It's like Mark 7 Golf versus Mark 8. There is a. Don't get me wrong. I notice it. I think to the rest of everyone else, they
You think there's a quality difference?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not driven by. I don't think I've
It's
driven either.
It's still fundamentally VW, and to the way it drives, it's still the same, if not better. But then ergonomically, some of the plastic trimmings, engine cover doesn't have the VW logo. I know that doesn't mean anything to anyone, but that's just small little things. But
yeah, I feel like that about my Mercedes. If you said bulletproof, I would not say my E63.
Really?
But I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's the ride or it just doesn't feel as bomb-proof as in my head I feel like it should. And I don't know whether it's the interior, what it is. It just feels a little bit more flimsy.
Yeah. Well, W205, we're on the new C-Class, aren't we? So the one before it, which had the V8, that centre console where it's got all the buttons?
Yeah.
They're renowned for just failing. They don't work. So they just literally you press a button and it's not there, especially for the ESC off.
Yeah.
I jumped in a C63 once and I tried to turn the ESC or traction control off and it wouldn't go off. I was like, oh man. But there is every generation of Mercedes, don't get me wrong, styling goes up, tech goes up, quality does drop incrementally.
Yeah, they're refining that balance, aren't they? Of because they don't make that much money out of each car. Presumably, the higher up the range you go and think your stupid ones, yes, they make a lot more money. But it's not a high profit margin business.
No.
For those people. And then you look at someone like Tesla at the moment. We know they're making loads of profit per car.
Yeah.
They just whack down the price by $8,000 on a bunch of models.
Yeah, I know.
And we know they're still making lots of money.
They're huge. But their cars aren't well made. Yeah, they're not.
It's true. And also if I'm recommending an EV to someone, what do you say? If someone says, I think you're getting an EV, what do you say at the moment?
I do say Model 3.
Yeah. Why?
Because of the range and the network.
Yeah.
But I tell them the car itself, I think it's a good car. Definitely a good car. It's all the car you ever need at all. I mean, really, it drives well. It's roomy. It's got a decent sized boot. It's easy to operate, but it's not well put. I mean, look, next time you see a Tesla, always look at door shuts.
Yeah, we know they're awful.
It's bad. Condensation and lights, which I think for a car of 50, 60,000 pounds is just...
That's it.
But then we know Range Rovers are like that. People still buy them.
Have you driven the new one?
No.
Have you sat in the new one?
I've sat in the new one, yeah.
I drove the new one for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Did a little test drive. I was like, I wonder, I think we all do. We look around and go, what's that like? New Range Rover. Everyone says it's pretty nice. Everyone says it's pretty comfy, pretty great. Took it for a 20-minute drive. It's quite nice.
Yeah.
It's not as luxurious as I thought it was going to be. Now, I don't know whether I have some weird preconceptions about what, in my head, a luxury vehicle should be like, which might just be wrong. There might not be a vehicle that exists that is as luxury as I think luxury vehicles should be. But driving around in the Range Rover, I didn't think it was that quiet, refined. I think it's refined, but I didn't think it was that refined relative to, let's say, my E-Class, which I think is probably also quite refined.
Yeah.
But then the buttons on the steering wheel. So there's no buttons in the new car at all, pretty much. There's two.
There's a couple of bits here and there.
And then the touchscreen. Oh yeah, I forgot about the touchscreen. If you're driving along and you want to adjust your seating position, don't bother. There's on the seats, there's 100 million things you can do to the seats, but it involves you can adjust the middle, the back, forward, backwards, headrest, yada, yada, yada. The bit under your legs moves forward and whatever. But if you try and do any of these things whilst you're driving along, it pings the display back off. So it pings you back to nav or something within about 2 seconds. So then you've got
to hunt for it again.
You've got to go back in.
So in essence, you've got to stop.
I think, which is not an unreasonable request, but I find I'm changing my seat position in a new car or a car that I haven't driven very much, quite a lot, just to get it right.
Yeah, it takes a few goes, and then once you're set in, you're all right. But yeah, I mean, luxury is meant to be stress free. It's kind of annoying that you have to.
Yeah, I don't know about all this sub menu stuff. We know from, let's say, Tesla that they can make their cars cheaper than everyone else in the category. And I think it's got to be down to simplicity of components and simplicity of the way they put them together, or the speed at which they put them together, which other people go, I'm not quite happy with that. but they do seem to. Like, they've got these huge hydraulic presses
Yeah.
for gigapress. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
For making body part parts.
But that's the interesting thing. You look at their factory, and you look at where they've got robots and everything, assembling them together. Then you get in the car, and you do think it was a bodge job from Birmingham. You know, it does. You think you've gone to all of that.
But I think, who is it? It was someone, actually, this is a car you drove, so we should get onto this topic.
Yeah, go on.
But designing doors is really hard. Like, designing doors to shut properly and well and all that stuff is actually quite tricky. Now, this came up in, well, another thing that's happened over the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah. We've sidetracked so much.
You've joined Fifth Gear.
Yeah, Fifth Gear Recharged.
Talk to me, how did this come about?
Wow. So it came about in summer of 2022, and I was having a Chinese with a mate, and then I get a call, and they said, "Look, we'd like you to come in for initially one episode." And it was an MGB RBW electric car, and it was at Kerber Sprint Course. So we went in there, done one episode, the usual stuff, get in the car, talk about it, skid it about, and that was it. And then I think the following week they'd gone, yeah, can we have you throughout the series? So obviously Recharged is fully focused on hybrids and EVs. You've got Corinne Chandok, Vicky Butler-Henderson, Jason Plato, Grace Webb, Jimmy DeVille, and then me on there, which is it's a bit surreal. I'll be honest with you. It's a bit surreal. I never thought I'd be doing Fifth Gear because obviously I've watched the show all my life from day dot. So to be a part of it's really, really cool.
It's super cool. And then, like, before you got that call, because I feel like you've been sort of setting up for something like this for a while. Like, if someone was listening, and obviously they're not going to come and take your job straight away, but there was a vague plan over the last, I don't know, how many, 5 years, wasn't there? To sort of position yourself to possibly be able to do this.
Absolutely. I think, over the 6-7 years of the channel, I know I don't upload that much, but every once in a while, me and Tom Scarner will go out and shoot film. And we I just like making high-end content on cars. And we can't always do it financially, but, we always did it in the hope that, either Thomas or me would get picked up and go beyond that. And it has finally paid off a little bit. Obviously, I did some bits before with Love Cars on the Road, Paul Woodman and Tiv Nadell, former Fifth Gear presenter, and other TV shows. But to do Fifth Gear was it's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. Yeah,
because I've watched one of your episodes, and it was with the Ariel
Hypercar, yeah.
Hypercar.
It's a pretty special car. So it's a pre-production car, so it's not going to be finished for another couple of years or 18 months. Fully electric. It's got a generator on there. Obviously, you can fuel. You don't have to fully charge it up. So it's meant to have 1160, 1170 horsepower. No, 1180. Sorry.
It's quite a lot.
It is a lot. And the curb weight is going to be 1,500 kilos, which for an EV is mental.
Yeah.
That was it's funny because the guys at Aero, you know what they are. They're a very small company. They're all, they're all quite laddish and very friendly, all good. And I got there and the car turned up on shoot, and I said, what's the hardest thing you guys done? And he said, I thought we'd talk about, maybe the heating or something. He went, no, putting a door in it. Putting a door in it's hard work. So obviously, it's not fully finished. They've got it running. I don't think it was running full 1100 odd horsepower, but I think we had it up to about 900, and then I think we had it about 1100 at one point, but then it started overheating a little bit, and we had it down to 900. But it's just warp speed. It just doesn't. Yeah, it's quite relentless. It does tail off at the top once you get past 120, but it is. It's fascinating, electric cars, isn't it? It's just fascinating. It's a different world. And it genuinely made a a noise, from the electric motors. It's not sound generated. It's none of this, fakery wizards there. It's genuinely the electric motors just whining away like a Tamiya RC car. Yeah, and that was quite cool. So done that. They got to give me some cool stuff. Not bad for the new boy.
Yeah,
they
not
got
bad.
Yeah, and I got to hoon it. So that was
and would you say there was something different about? And the thing is, it's such an early stage. You want to drive something like the Rimac that we know that's like finished, like the Navara.
Yeah,
because I would say that's got to be peak EV at the moment, isn't it?
Like, that's the top dog, isn't it? From what everybody's been saying.
But like, let's say there's the hypercar, which is HIPER.
I know.
CAR.
It's hard to get your head around that.
Yeah. What was different about driving that versus, let's just say, a car with 1,200 horsepower?
Well, you've driven aerials, haven't you?
I've been in. I've not actually driven one.
So obviously aerials are quite dainty and light and up on its feet and very tippy-toey. And you could sense that in this car. Obviously, it's not been fully set up. It was running Öhlins, it was running Cup 2 Michelins. But you had that sense of, because obviously most performance EVs, as you know, they're quite heavy, very heavy, that you can feel that inertia. What was interesting to be in a car that powerful and not, 1,500 kilos, it's not a bad weight, it's not heavy, it's not light, but it's a medium weight. And you can just sense that there's, even though it's all-wheel drive, you can sense that it's going to be light and tippy-toe on its feet. I'd love to have a go in it when it's fully done. Steering was rather light. They're running an EPAS system on it. So there's still a lot to do on that car. There's still a lot to do, but you just having a sense of what it's like, it does make you think, okay, once this car's done.
And the powertrain on that car, is that like the, is it like a typical sort of range extender type situation? Or is it like, you've seen that Audi Dakar car?
I've seen a little bit. I've seen pictures
it's
of it.
It's basically got a DTM
details.
engine in the back that just generates electricity to charge a small battery pack that then runs electric motors.
No way.
And the combination of the two is more efficient than just running, just an engine. And you can crank out crazy numbers from the motors. So it's been interesting. That's been in this Dakar and the previous one. Competing against whatever the Toyotas and stuff.
Yeah, because obviously Dakar they do it across thousands of miles.
So in the hypercar, it has this motor that I believe can run on. And wait, is it a motor or is it a jet engine?
No. So it's a motor on either wheel, an electric motor, and then it's got like a generator on there.
Yeah, and is that a jet engine?
It's meant no, it's not a jet engine. It can run on basically different types of fuel.
Okay.
So you can either run it on petrol. I think eventually it's going to run on hydrogen. Yeah. You can fill it up with hydrogen. And the idea of it is say that if you're going to a track day and you don't have a facility to charge it, i.e., I don't know, Anglesey or something, you can just plug it in with hydrogen or something like that. Generator will charge the batteries and then off you go. It's a bit like the range extenders that you find on i3s or something like that. Except that, the output will be water and not CO2. So then it'll be clean and efficient. There is...
It's an interesting look at the whole thing. How do you feel about hybrids, like versus ICE and BEV?
Have you
driven a few?
I've driven a few now. I've done a few PHEVs. I've done the thing with PHEVs and sort of just hybrids that aren't plug-in. I can understand that if you don't have a facility to charge it, i.e. Prius, those sorts of cars. But then it all comes down to preference, isn't it, and choice. What do you do in your daily commute? If you've got a charging station, from most of my mates and people I know that have got hybrids, they're not fully into the EV world, but they like the idea of having something that they can just plug at home, go to work, whiz up there and then whiz back for local commuting and round town driving. Yeah. But then if they needed to go somewhere, road trip or whatever, they don't have the inconvenience of an EV. Well, if you can call it an inconvenience, I don't know. You've got a 208 E208, so you know a lot about it. You spend what's your car?
Oh, yeah. I've got a family member was thinking about getting an EV as their sole car recently. I was talking to them about it. I was like, I struggle at the moment to fully recommend an EV as your only car, depending on what you do. Like it's doable, but like I think you need to be a little bit of a nerd. If you get, so all of these are slightly asterisked by if you don't just want to get a Model 3. If you want to get a Model 3 and you like the car, that's my problem. I don't really like the car. It's good, but there's something about it. I want that intrinsic quality.
Yeah.
That I'm happy to pay a bit more for or whatever, or just wait for someone else to come up with the same. But I can't really recommend, let's say my mum was to go, we need a new car. Should we get an EV? It's going to be the only car. And I'm like, you can, but like you might run into problems at some point.
Yeah.
Most of the time you'll be fine. You'll charge at home, happy days. Like literally you'll do 99% of your miles, no problem. But if you decide tomorrow I want to drive a long way, you need to plan it.
Yeah. It's down to the individual, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that's it.
But the thing is, the motor car is a symbol of freedom, anywhere and the road's around you. The car works around you. An EV, you have to work around it because of the network and the way it's charging. But then...
to some extent.
Yeah. And if you're lazy or, I wouldn't say lazy, but you're just nonchalant, sort of just... you can run into problems, but then it's going to be at your inconvenience, isn't it, really? So you better charge it up and look for somewhere to charge. But then at the same time, I've come across... I remember being in a Model 3 Performance, and I went to one of these 22 kilowatt hour chargers and then thinking that, oh yeah, I'll plug that and charge. And this is someone that wasn't clued up on EVs as much, knowing that, do you know what, it only lets you charge it up 15 minutes and then you got to...
Oh, you had to re-tap again?
Yeah. But then by the time I was up in the morning, I've had it. Yeah. So...
That's an insane concept.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we need
they're
some
still
more
around. I mean,
regulation
I've just moved into a new office and, there was there's a 22 kilowatt charge. And the guy was telling me, he was like, yeah, you've got to charge it, you plug it in, tap the, pay for it.
Yeah.
But then you got to wait 15 minutes, take it out and then put it back in. And I went, are you mad?
Is that because of the contactless limit on a card? Shouldn't be, because you can do what? How much can you do contactless now?
Anything.
40 quid? 60 quid? No, not like Apple Pay. I mean, with a card.
Oh, on a card. I think it's
40.
I think it's 40. Yeah,
Something like that.
30, so 40 quid. Yeah,
that's actually quite a lot of EV juice.
Yeah, and they don't have chip and pins where obviously.
Yeah. I find it's really tricky because I am actually massively pro EV. I think they are a very good solution, and I think they're a very good part of the future that we need to be living in.
Agreed. And there's a place for them. I think cities and towns, definitely EV all day long.
And most people. I think most people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If your normal commuting day, EV. I think if you're doing the best part of 40, 50k miles a year and it's up and down all sorts of motorways, whether that's a business or whatever you might do, I still think there's a place for... God, I might get cancelled for saying it now, isn't it? Diesels. There is a space for them.
There is a place for it. It is so much cheap if you can charge at home. Because you say that like the freedom of having a car.
Yeah.
There is actually a real freedom of, I'm just going to asterisk all this stuff by if you can charge home or at least on your street. That you wake up and your car is fully juiced every day. Let's just say it could be. You can drive 200 plus, 230 miles or something without having to go to a petrol station. Any day you wake up, you can drive 230 miles. You don't go, okay, actually, I've got like, I was at a family's house at the weekend, and one of my brother-in-law was like, oh, I need to go and fill the car up. He was also going to combine it with picking up some stuff from the shop or whatever. He's like, I'm going to go fill up the car, 10-minute each way journey. I was like, interesting. Like, you'd never do that in an EV.
No, that's a good point.
And you also never get into a cold car.
Oh yeah,
in winter.
Yeah, especially
frosted
over
up.
Yeah, mate. The last few weeks of the cold. I mean, today's been nice to be fair, but yeah, getting into a cold car in the mornings.
But I think to sort of
there is pro points, isn't there? There is pro points. I think there's definitely a space for it.
And we're just early. I still think we're really early in the game. I think manufacturers are starting to make some really good cars.
Yeah.
Like Taycan.
Great
car.
Great. Brilliant.
Just not quite like, for me, it's not quite there to be my only long rangey type car.
But then it's Porsche's first iteration of an EV, and
100%.
and it's a great, and I'm sure over time they'll nail it. They'll nail it, and obviously they're coming up with e-fuels and everything as well.
Exactly.
So.
We're gonna get what we're gonna get soon. We're gonna get a whole bunch. We're gonna get from Porsche. Okay, I'm just kind of ignore the big SUVs because making big SUV EVs is just stupid. Like, we shouldn't be putting 120 kilowatt hour battery packs into cars. Like, come on, people. But we're going to get there's an EV Panamera coming.
Nice. That'd be quite
So,
good.
because I think most people look at the Taycan and go, oh, that's like the EV Panamera, but it's not. It's smaller.
It?
It's
Yeah.
kind of like a slightly extended 911 or something.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get the A6 estate.
Okay.
And then the RS6 estate. But I don't know about you. How do you feel about performance? How do you feel about performance EVs at the moment? There's not that many out there.
There's not many out there. I've only tried a handful, like Polestar, Porsche, Audi's e-tron is quite good, but I don't know. It's a hard one. I think in terms of performance, it's definitely impressive. It's a bit like, the way I look at it, it's a bit like, when the R35 GTR came along, and that car just, the launch control and that, how it just sort of, catapulted everybody, and everybody kept going on about GTR. Now, don't get me wrong, GTR's a wicked car. We're so used to it.
Yeah.
Are we a bit like that with performance? I don't know.
So I guess the question for me would be like, and I've got a good example sitting outside here, and a good example of a car that's just come out, which we will definitely talk about. Let's say you've got your Taycan.
Yeah.
And you can get the rear-wheel drive one, which is probably 0 to 60 in 5.5.
Yeah, about
that's
under
my
6.
That's my guess. And then you've got your Turbo S, which is rapid. And then you've got all the bits in between. Would you go over and above to buy a Turbo S?
No. I wouldn't. No, I don't think I would.
See, I have zero desire for a Taycan Turbo S. Like, I have a lot of desire for a 4S Sport Turismo.
Yeah.
Ignoring the Sport Turismo part, but a 4S, I go, that's bloody quick.
Yeah. Turbo S, I remember getting in that thing and launching it, and I'm just thinking, wow. I mean, don't get me wrong.
It's mental.
Mental. Great. Sick. I love it. You don't need that much. Then you jump into 4S and you're like, okay, yeah, this is quick. This is as quick as a, Panamera Turbo or something like that. But yeah, Turbo S is, but the thing is, the reason why I was having a bit of thought and thinking no, I was saying no from me, but no to everyone else. Some people just like having the most expensive, 100%, ludicrous 100%. Thing.
But as a sort of petrolhead is no longer the right word. Car enthusiast. Because let's include all the stuff. For me, the E63 sitting outside. If that was an EV, I wouldn't have bought the 63.
Of course not.
I would have bought the whatever. I would bought the equivalent of 4S type situation.
Yeah.
That's got a stupid engine in it. And in the past, the performance versions have always had the most rowdy engine.
Yeah.
So if you just say Mercedes.
That's what makes AMG.
So if you're EVs, you've got to distinguish them by some other way. And raw performance, I think for a lot of people, might not be enough. Now, let's take AMG. We've got a new AMG at the moment.
C63.
C63, which has got more performance, but
It hasn't got a V8. And it weighs too much.
it's heavy, isn't it?
It's only, I think it's on par with your E63.
It's heavier.
wagon, yeah. Is it heavier?
I think it's
It's 2.1 tons, isn't it?
2.1 or 2.2.
Yeah. The E63 is not 2.1.
And this is, I was looking it up today because I wanted to know the difference between my M340i and the E-Class.
Yeah.
This is just thinking about like those sorts of cars and going, well, actually, a 3 Series Touring is quite heavy, like nowadays. Like it's not light. So to have another, I think my car is 2070 kilos, and then a M340i is 1890,
Really?
something like that. It's 18 something. So then
It's not far off.
for me,
is it?
that two, you just go, well, do I want more space and a stupid engine or whatever? It's not quite a like for like, but you're not getting a lot more driver appeal in a 3 Series. Okay, 150 kilos or whatever. It's not nothing, but a C63 is heavier than the car with a V8, and you've got more performance.
It's only, when you think of it, that car is only 100 kilos off. If it's 2.1, yeah, it's 100 kilos off a Bentley Flying Spur or a Conti,
Yeah.
Continental GT. That's ridiculous. That's Mercedes's small saloon.
Small saloon.
Small saloon.
And they're going to make an E-Class.
What's that going to weigh? You're going to need a HGV license to drive that, you know?
It's going to be 2.2, 2.3.
Well, they've got the E-Performance, haven't they? AMG GT 4-door. That's like the 800 odd horsepower,
Yeah.
electric motor one. And I hate to like prejudge, because I just the one thing I hate is prejudging a car before having a go. But it's not.
Do you think you're quite good at it though?
I am, yeah.
I think so.
I am. I rarely ever get it wrong. Apart from one, which was that Maserati Grecale.
Okay.
Trofeo, because you was almost going to come on there on that launch. So that was December. And, got an email from Maserati to go out and test out the Trofeo Grecale, which is their small-sized SUV.
What's that class as? Mid-size SUV? Q5 size?
Yeah, Q5 size. Macan X3M sort of rival. This is the Trofeo, so it's got the detuned Nettuno V6 from the MC20. So it's like 523 horsepower. And I did, because obviously, other than the MC20, Maserati have fallen off. I think they did Ghibli diesels and quadruple. It was just
it's just been one of those brands that's just like
yeah, I know.
Like it's a cool name, and they at one point in time made some really cool cars.
Yeah,
but like I got nothing for it. MC20 is cool. I think it's cool.
I think it's cool. I really want to have a go in that car.
Does the Grecale suffer? And this is something I think about, like my E-Class, but also the C63. It's an interesting one where I think the engine has to suit the car. And bear with me. If it's a small, revvy, kind of zingy engine, it can't be in something big and heavy. It doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, so like an E60 M5, a V10 M5.
Yeah, maybe, but like that's also quite a rowdy.
Yeah, no,
that's
but
a rowdy engine.
Because some people think that car, it's got it's in the wrong body. That engine, because it's a high rev
maybe,
V10 with not much torque. So.
I'm thinking like because the C63 is a 4-cylinder, plus some electric. I don't think of sitting in a car like that and having the 4-cylinder noise, especially an AMG. Like if you're in a sports car, it can kind of have whatever, but you kind of think, nah, this should be high revving and make all the juice. If your car weighs 3 tons, I kind of think it should go and just, you should have a wave of torque, and it shouldn't be going.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It should have a V8, and that's why we love and know the C63 so much. It's definitely not the most dynamic car in its class compared to, say, a Giulia Quadrifoglio or an M3. But we love it because it's just brawny and silly, and it just, you know, I love the phrase Clarkson made once about them. He said if it had a tongue, it would go around licking windows, and it's absolutely true. They're just silly cars. They're I think the best way I can describe them, is they're like city trader boys. You know, they've got a sensible high-end job, but you just know on a Friday night they're going to be up to some crazy shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to be up to some no good, and that's the best way I can describe the C63. And it was going to come anyway. They weren't. They
didn't want to do it.
Of course, they didn't want to do it. You know, and then, but I'm sure there must have been other options. It's like, okay, right, the lazy muscle car C63 is over. Okay, it has to be downsized to 4 cylinders. Why don't we give it a small bit of hybrid assistance and turn it into a bit of a proper sports saloon?
Yeah,
you know,
make it light.
Make it light. Make it
Is that
drivable.
possible?
Well, it's difficult with crash regulations and everything nowadays, but try and make it as taut and supple. But from what I could tell from all the reviews, it's not having a particularly good time.
It sounds like, which is a lot of reviews for a lot of cars these days, like, it's incredibly competent. It's really fast. It's got lots of torque. Blah, 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 blah. And then you can tell.
Yeah, we bloody know that.
Just doesn't care. They're
I can see through their bullshit. Yeah.
And it does all these things. It ticks all these boxes, but like, it's still really heavy.
And then another problem is can't you get that same engine in a C43? Pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, you can't get that full combination yet.
But it's near enough there, isn't it? It's a 4-cylinder turbocharged.
Yeah. It doesn't have a hybrid.
Sure, I'm sure. Obviously, the motors turn the other way around. I know they've done a lot.
No, but you can't get the hybrid part of it.
Has it not got like an electric motor curves or anything like that?
In the C43?
Yeah.
I think it might have one of those. I don't know whether it's got the sort of, 48 volt system.
Yeah,
where
that's what I'm thinking.
Just like a little bit of juice. Just like a little bit of like get you off from lights and stuff.
Yeah. But how do they differentiate it when you've got 2 4-cylinder turbocharged cars in its class? I know one's got considerably more power, but you know, there's, I don't know. Before you had the V6 43, and then you had the V8 C63. There was a majesty as to having that car. I need to have a go at one. But I haven't got my hopes up.
I think it's going to make it's going to make distinguishing between the models really hard. I think, because you're going to go, yeah, okay, it's quicker, but it sounds the same. And I think for me anyway, that is, I don't care. I don't care enough about the performance.
Yeah. To me,
to spend more unless there's a fundamental shift.
Yeah. And people, I often get criticised for, you don't like change, you don't like moving on, blah, 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 with the times. I am happy with moving on with the times, but it's, I don't know, man. Maybe I need to get over it a little bit more, but to me, they've killed the C63. I knew it was going to come.
It's what it is. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But, and I guess, the next one after that is going to be electric.
Yeah. Well, it's all going to go down that way, unless something else happens in the future. So
things need to change a lot by then. And actually, driving something like, I drove back to back the Panamera Turbo S E-hybrid.
Cool
car, but I personally think could do without the hybrid.
Yeah, it's better without the
hybrid. It's a lot lighter. In fact, you can buy it without the hybrid.
It's 300 kilos lighter. I don't think you can even buy a Turbo SE hybrid now, can you? I think you just buy the Turbo.
Have they got rid of the SE hybrid?
Yeah.
I guess maybe because it was one of those like loopholes business. You can run it through the business, and
it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Yeah.
Which is where like a lot of these hybrids have sort of come from.
But it also sits in that category of like S65.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, yeah, it's got a V12, but you don't really need it.
So why would you? It does, But why would you get the e-hybrid? If you've driven both, that's it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you would. Because driving that car back to back with the Taycan Turbo S, I went, well, the Taycan's just a better car.
Oh, yeah, full stop.
It's just better.
Yeah, it's just better. But, you know, the Panamera is a bigger car, it's a lazier car. It's twin turbocharged.
So then
lag.
Those cars, they have like a character to them in the sense that like you're not hustling it around a track. You're not really hustling it down a road.
Nah.
You're making it go down there. Having a characterful engine is really nice. Like a stupid V8, V12, whatever.
Oh, it plays a big part of the car. We know that.
In your 7 Series, 760 Li or whatever it is, all these cars that had stupid engines in them. That's really cool. But if we're going to go EV, obviously that's going out the window. The Taycan drives bloody well. I would not mind if my E63 drove like a Taycan, but just happened to have the same engine in it. That would be awesome.
When it comes to EVs, the one that I've grown to love the most out of all of them is the Taycan. I did think, do you know what? Probably a part of me, my life down the future, I probably would have a Taycan. I think it majority of the time, and we're all known for doing it. We're not doing transition skids and trailing in a throttle. You know,
what are you talking about?
Well, you know, no, I know I'm growing up here, aren't I? But do you know what I mean? For the majority of the people, they don't. You're not doing that,
and you're not doing it in your biggest state.
Of course not. You'll take down postcodes and man posts. You know what I mean? And you know, so it's for 90% of the time, and no one takes their Taycan or Panamera no one takes their Taycan and Panamera to track days unless you're just.
No, why would you? It's not what it's for.
You wouldn't do that.
So getting the upgraded brakes or any of that.
You don't need
malarkey.
PCCBs.
Unless they're lighter and you're like, I want the...
They are lighter, but...
Ride quality, possible, tiny bit of ride quality. But if it's on air suspension,
I think on Turbo S's they're standard, aren't they? Across the board, yeah.
Yeah, for your 200 grand or whatever it is.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think there is a space, there is something nice having a big barge with a V8 that burbles, and yes, it does emit CO2. Yes, it consumes fuel.
Yeah.
But there is something cool about them.
It's cool.
Just it's going back to the same point as the C63. I think I can speak for the rest of the car enthusiasts. We like that car, and we liked it because of how silly it was. And sometimes, for most cars, you can judge it by numbers and what it does off a spec sheet and drag races and quarter miles. It's not. That's not all. It's how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
That is what, to me, that's what I look for in a car. How does it make you feel? And if it makes you feel happy, then great. And most of the time, I think, just there is a space for the Turbo S, Panamera. I think they will eventually, kill it off. Well, I think they have done from what I've been told, but...
Yeah.
It's a niche car.
It'd be interesting to see how those... Yeah, and you see them and you go, that is unnecessary, but... got a silly engine in it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I've just thought of a sort of interesting game. I don't know whether this will work or not.
Go on.
Let's take... I've always thought conventional manufacturers make too many models.
Oh.
Let's say your Mercedes. They make a bazillion versions.
They're having an identity crisis with their EVs.
And you look at something, whether it's EVs or ICE or all the lot. Yeah. You look at Tesla and they make 4 cars?
Yeah.
S, E, X.
Y. Simple.
They're going to make one more at some point. They might make a small one. I don't know what they're going to call it. Exclamation mark, maybe?
Yeah, it's like Gordon. Yeah, exclamation mark. Well, they've got the truck and they've got the Roadster to bloody bring out.
Yes, they've got a few. But let's say they make 4 cars and they've got a sort of small saloony car, a large saloon, a small SUV and a large SUV. If you went through most manufacturers and said, right, you can only make 4 cars, what would you keep? Let's go out of the big ones. This could actually be quite challenging.
This is quite
you've got to do it in terms of like, you think it will not be a bad idea for the business? Because if you said Porsche, right, I think you could probably pick, I could definitely pick 4 models, but they ain't going to make all the money. So if Porsche can only make 4 models, what would you pick?
What, 4 models?
They can only sell 4 cars, and that's like 1 engine in each one.
Well, 911 obviously is going to, you got to keep that.
What engine?
What
car?
What car?
Yeah. You can possibly tweak it a little bit because, you know, you're not making 100 versions anymore.
It's got to be NA, man.
It's got to be NA, right?
It's got to be NA. Ideally, the 4-litre flat 6, 500 horsepower job. But you aren't going to sell as many, are you? So, because there's that big figure of CO2, isn't it? That's how the manufacturer.
Yeah, okay, but
we don't want to get seedy, but let's try.
I reckon.
Go on.
I reckon
do it
for
your
that
way.
one,
Let's do it.
And then just on the 911, I reckon you put the GT3 engine in a GTS.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
And then like you can sort of pick your GTS options however you want, which means you can have seats, no seats. You can have lightweight stuff, not lightweight stuff, whatever. A full spec of options. But that's your 911. What other models? 3 others.
Cayman's got to be there, isn't it?
I don't know.
Cayman.
What engine?
It's got to be a flat 6. It could be a flat 6. Ideally, but then do you put...
So you would put the GT3 engine in it?
Yeah.
So you're selling a 911 with a GT3 engine in it and a Cayman with a GT3 engine in it?
Yeah, I know. This doesn't... It's too many of the same engines. But look, Mercedes did it across the whole their range and that worked.
Yeah, to be fair, if you went to Mercedes, you'd be like, yes, I will take the 4-litre V8 turbo and put it in 4 different cars.
Yeah. So, that's what Mercedes did. Okay, you're buying a 4-litre twin turbo V8. What body do you want it in? You know, so Cayman and 911 should be flat 6. And then of the 4-litre.
What are the 2 cars?
Boxster. You got Boxster, of course. Why are you looking at me like that?
I think you're not going to sell that many cars if you go with this strategy. What's your final one?
Macan.
That's
the best seller. It's a brilliant car.
Yeah.
Does everything you want.
And which Macan?
GTS.
And
then eventually down the line, if he has to go EV, let it go EV.
I think with that one, I would do Macan.
100% Macan.
And then I would either do Cayenne or Panamera. I think for general Joe blogs, I'd have to go Cayenne because they sell more Cayennes than they sell Panameras.
Yeah.
But the engine I would put in them, I wouldn't put stupid engines in them. I would go Macan S and Cayenne S.
Yeah, because they come with the twin turbo V6 400 horsepower. Quick enough. Does the job. Makes good noise.
Reasonably, good on fuel.
Yeah.
Like, if I was to sell a Taycan, I would only sell a 4S or a 4.
Yeah.
Because, that car, it's not a sports car. It's a comfortable saloon for cruising around, doing long distance, occasionally going quick. It's quick enough. You're not hitting around track. You've got your...
You got your other toys.
Other toys for that.
Yeah. Do you think with performance saloon cars, they've gone a bit too extreme now?
People buy them, don't they?
I know, but hasn't it gone a bit too... to me, my idea of a performance saloon is, yes, give it some poke. It needs to be bonkers fast, but I don't want it to be overly sporty. It needs to have a decent chassis, nimble enough, but I want it to be a bit lazy, but it doesn't need to be taut. And I'm going to go do a 620 or 720 Nürburgring lap time.
That's definitely one of the problems with the E63 in the UK. I think in Europe it's not a problem. The ride and everything's fine. Here it's just it could be a bit more wafty. Jaguar does this incredibly well.
They're the kings at it. They are the absolute kings at that sort of stuff. I was talking to Al Clark on Instagram about it, and because he was just going through some old photos of some of the stuff he's done in terms of projects with Jaguar. And yeah, they nail what makes a saloon car. Supple ride, taut chassis, light body, silly engine. That's it. It's not it's probably not the most efficient way compared to an M5, but it's definitely going to put a smile on your face. You're not going to be bouncing up and down the road. Even like, you know, I jumped in an XJR once, and even when I stuck it in race mode, I can still bumble down a B road in it and enjoy it. They are the kings, and they're great at doing big saloons, more so than the Germans, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely in the UK.
100%. Well, yeah, you know,
and they are based here because I think if you look at all of the stupid, silly SUVs, there's a lot of them now.
Too many.
Like, let's say Porsche Turbo GT, Range Rover SVR versions, or Mercedes. What do they do? I don't know.
GLE 63
or whatever. All of those cars ride like shit.
They're all crap.
Like, they don't ride nicely. I think
I don't know. The Cayenne's quite good, and the SVR.
If you've got I think the Turbo GT will not ride that well.
I've not driven a Turbo GT, but I think
no. Any of them on air are all right, but they're not. None of them are luxe.
It's because of the wheels. Because they've got because obviously, you know, it's the high performance version. You got to give it a big body kit, so then you got to fill the arches with big wheels. Obviously, go down a smaller wheel, but then it doesn't look as cool.
Yeah, so it's the whole setup. It's all of the suspension. It's all the like not allowing any roll and whatever. Like, but I think the F-Pace SVR. Harry Metcalf did a video on that recently. I think that rides really not like.
That is a really good car. I drove
stupid engine, like great stupid engine,
brilliant engine. That 5-litre supercharged V8. That amongst like the 6.2 V8 and a couple of LS engines will go down in the history books as what a motor of a car. I got to drive that all the way back from Nice, southern France, all the way back to the UK. So over 1,000 miles.
What was that like?
Brilliant. Really, really good. I don't know why you don't. It's a treat when you see one on the road in SVR. I think I've only seen like one or two.
It's pretty rare.
Yeah, and then the rest I've seen are in showrooms. It's very, very rare, but it's a really good car. It's easily the most amusing out of all of them. You know, it's all right. It's not well built as like a Macan. Not much is, to be honest. You know, it's probably not as efficient on fuel, but it's definitely. I think it's a great looking car.
Yeah, it looks good.
It looks good. It's so entertaining to drive. No matter whether you're a racing driver or you're a hooligan or you're just Joe Bloggs that's going down the shops, you're going to have a good time in that car. Practical still, but we don't see it. We don't see any of it.
It doesn't have the badge. Like if it was a Range Rover product, if Range Rover made that product
in the Velar, yeah, they'd sell by the million.
Like, would they though? I don't know. Yeah, they would sell a lot more.
But then it goes down in that book of, it's a bit more. What that car is it's a much more well sorted Range Rover Sport SVR, because the SVR's got a great chassis, and that's a bit like the C63 in the sense that it's just silly. Yeah. It's just big, it's brash, it heaves up and down when it's like being in a Dakar car. But I do like it. I don't like the people that drive them, but I like it. I do like that car. But the F-Pace is a much, if I had the choice, I think it would either be that or the Grecale.
Oh, interesting.
But then that's from a heart overhead.
Yeah, ignoring the value, whatever.
Yeah, if I'm thinking in my head, I'm going for Macan.
Yeah.
Straight away. The X3M, I don't know what the LCI version of that car's like, but the last time I drove an M competition, I thought I dismissed it straight away. The ride was that bad. It was shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Yeah, I went up the hill at Goodwood in a M3 competition.
What, X3?
X3
M competition.
And within 2 seconds, I knew that I was never going to remotely consider buying this car. Just a bit.
Was that a facelift though? It must have been, yeah.
It was a while ago. I don't know.
I was okay.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, it's a shame really, because it's got a good powertrain. Obviously, it's got that engine from the current M3, and I really like the X3 M40i and D.
Yeah,
I think they're great cars. But in terms of the X3M, I dismissed it straight away. And people go, oh yeah, but you can change the dampers. I don't want to be spending that sort of 80, 90 grand car. I got to change dampers. Are you mad?
I've been thinking about this recently. Yeah. Like, what cars would I buy or would I change suspension setups on? And the answer is pretty much every car I own. If I was thinking about it like that,
same.
I would do it because they're not exactly how I want them.
Audi RSs, every single one of majority of them, they're going to get a Geo setup and ride like a B8 RS4. So that's a 2013, 2014 car. Great looking car, great powertrain, 4.2 naturally aspirated V8. Understeers a bit too much. Okay, that's not really its biggest issue. The biggest issue is the ride.
That era of RS product was shocking. Like, I got a S3 back in 2012, maybe? Something like that. Anyway, and was looking at the RS3 at the same time and then went in one and was like, no, this ride is like horrific. But it got better. If you look at so of all the brands, modern Audi RS products ride really well. Even though they're all on stupid wheels, they still ride remarkably well.
So I got to drive the new RS3 last year, and I was amazed by how well that car rode. It was 5 Series level good of the way it rid over bumps. And what's nice is Audi is actually listening. They're listening. Everything that you, me, load of other journos, it understeers too much. They are making cars now with a bit of an amusement, and I think we sort of seen that when the S3 2013, 2014 model on the MQB platform, when that car came along, when it started showing a bit of adjustability, we think, okay, right, Audi are listening, and they're slowly getting better at it. Even the new RS6, a bit more entertaining to drive. They haven't perfected it, but RS3 is quite an amusing car to drive.
So in that category, so this is the conundrum I was sort of going through we all have this shit on a daily basis, don't we?
100%.
Think about some car or whatever. So I'm lining up to spend, let's say 30 to 40 grand on an EV at the moment. Ideally less, but like it kind of seems like this is what it's going to cost. And I go, right, okay, today in my head, I'm like, I'm going to get a new E208. And then the week later, like currently, I'm like, I'll probably get a Cupra Born. But then
what's that like? Any good?
It's like quite good for what it is in terms of being an EV. But if you go, right, you buy a new one, it's like 40 grand. And then you go, you probably could get an RS3.
Yeah, because...
And then you're like, so which car would you have? Ignore the EV part. But like because they're all crazy expensive now as well.
They're all too dear.
Let's say 30 to 50 grand is the new car price-ish we're aiming at here. So you wouldn't get an RS3 Performance because that's like 70. What a joke. But let's just say you can have RS3 845 or any of the sort of that class-ish up or down a model of car. Which would you go for?
RS3s, what are they, 60s, aren't they? So that's way off.
But you could have a...
Is that with heart? Is that think, I can go older as well, yeah?
Yeah, let's say that type of car.
2 years, okay. If it was just the car that I want to live with every day, forever, or for a while, that does sort of everything. I think nothing gets better than an M340i Touring or D. I'm leaning towards the D. I don't know why. I think it's just because I do a lot of miles. But
I don't think it's much cheaper now.
It's not. No, of course not. I mean, I did the math with my mate, and we were saying like to compensate the saving and the cost before this inflation of diesel went on, you've got to be doing the best part of 65, 70 miles to the gallon. Now, if you think of all the diesels that are 65, 70 miles to the gallon, they're all pretty boring.
And the M340D, you're not getting 60, 70.
No, you're probably getting 40s or something, or maybe less than that.
Yeah, maybe 50. But you'll get 40 in the M340i.
Yeah. So, yeah, the diesels they're phasing away, aren't they?
I think they have a place.
They definitely
we're
have a
talking about
place.
the performance end,
Yeah.
where if you're just like doing the slightly less, let's say.
If I went a couple of
The
years
diesel
old,
was quite nice though.
diesels are nice in terms of torque. And I
Yeah.
think when it comes to performance diesels, I don't think anyone does it better than BMW. But if we went down a couple of years old, definitely a Giulia Quadrifoglio. I think that's a cracking car. You're basically buying a Ferrari.
That is a really cool car.
That's a Ferrari.
And then maybe either it's going to have got worse or they'll have been fixed. It definitely had a lot of
It had bug
weird
issues,
bug issues that maybe have all been fixed, or your car is undrivable. One or the other. You've either got a banger for 30s.
Yeah,
that what they are?
late 30s, mid 40s for a decent spec.
That was an incredibly good buy.
great.
Even when they came out brand new, which I would never recommend anyone buy a car brand new, but
Yeah. They're
they
holding their
held
money
well,
strong.
so well.
Very well. Very, very well. And it's a great looking car.
Looks
It sounds great. It's got an awesome powertrain. I love the fact that when you put it in race, it turns all the ESC off.
Yeah,
And you're buying a Ferrari saloon. That's cool.
yeah, ish.
Yeah. The engines are,
It doesn't feel to me when I drove it. It didn't feel that solid.
no, it does feel like
It feels a little like flimsy.
feels like if you go past 150, things are going to come off. But you laugh about it. That's Alfa Romeo, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's kind of what they do.
It's cool. I think that is a really cool car.
Yeah, it's just one of those. I think that's can't be your only car because it just wouldn't work, would it? But I think sensible hat.
That's a good
340i.
That is a good choice, isn't it? That Alpha.
I mean,
Assuming just make the assumption that it might work all the time. You've got a really cool car, like you say, cool engine. It's different, looks good.
great to drive.
It's a lot of box tickings. If you get an M340i, which is a great car,
Touring for me,
yeah, touring, it's just a great car.
brilliant.
But there are a lot of other people that have also got M340i's or 3 Series Tourings, and
Yeah, it's a bit. Yeah, so where else do you go? I mean, you've got
I still think in that class,
yeah,
and that's why I bought one. I thought that's the car.
yeah, it's mega.
It's just the car. You're not getting a C63. You're not getting a new one. The previous one just didn't ride very well. That was my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, this one now.
Wicked
they've nailed
car.
it. Yeah. Good interior. You know, good styling, not out there, not, very
No
discreet.
stupid grills.
No stupid grills. Yeah, I think that's my recommendation of a car. I mean, then obviously I would say the Fiesta ST, but that car's gone now. There's
gone?
no yeah, it's gone. And I'm really upset.
Have you driven the Hyundai?
What, i20?
i20.
No, I haven't driven it.
It's a nice car.
It's quite good apparently, isn't it?
It's not. It doesn't have that excitement factor that the Fiesta ST did.
The Fiesta's
But
amusing, isn't it?
That was just really amusing,
Yeah.
and I think most people would get that from driving it. Like, you don't have to be doing anything silly. It just is amusing.
To me, a hot hatch, it needs to make you feel like an Asbo, first and foremost. It doesn't need to be the fastest. It just needs to bring out your inner kid. And if it doesn't do that, it's a fail. I was in a Polo GTI about a couple of years back, and what a boring car. What a boring car. It's sensible, it's well made, it goes well, DSG box, all that stuff. But if that's what you want, buy something else. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't. And the Fiesta, I mean, I've been banging on about. I built my channel on a Fiesta. I've been banging on about them for ages. I think they're cracking cars. The Mark 8's even better. It's got a great engine. It's got a great chassis. It's got a good interior. 3 or 5 door, good on fuel. The only pet hate with them is there are nasty people out there that steal them. So you just gotta, keep your wits about you. Put a ghost and a steering lock. But other than that, great car. Just brilliant. And we're losing that breed of cars now. There's nothing.
There aren't many cars that I get, and I think the i20N is good. Like, it's fun.
I'm keen to have a go in that. Yeah.
But it didn't have that. I didn't feel like if the Fiesta, you turn into a corner, like a little bit fast, you lift off. It tells you I could be moving.
Yeah. You get
you get a little like,
the axle location's really good. You just got that really nice, it's talking to you, which is great.
And it's just not that many cars that
and
you
it's
get that from
cocking a
these
wheel
days.
as well. And it's just full of life, No, in terms of new cars, absolutely not. I think I've always said this. I think in terms of new cars, the ones that I love and I would buy with my own money is out of production, but it was the Fiesta ST, the Giulia Quadrifoglio, and a touring manual. That's it.
Bish bash bosh.
The rest, I am trying to hunt down the next ones, but those have always been that three. Now the Fiesta's gone. That era of hot hatch. I mean, the rest are like Civic Type R's, which I'm going to have a go in soon. Golf R's, but they're all like 40, 50 grand cars. They're just
it's
different.
It's a lot of money, isn't it? It's tricky. I'm really wanting at the moment to kind of like, I do and I don't, just like not quite just sell everything, but have a bit more fun.
What, as in like you want more affordable cars or something to chuck around? Or?
Well, I think of like a Fiesta ST and I think it's just so much fun at like normal driving.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like a lot of these cars, they're just not that fun in normal driving.
Well, people go to me, I bet some of your best driving memories are in your Cayman GT4, and I always go to them, no, it's actually my Fiesta ST, because it was just, there's not that much grip. Some of my best driving memories are in that car, and it still is to this day, and I get to drive some really cool stuff, and so do you. And it's just because you're not going that fast to enjoy it. Yeah. I can tip it into a corner and I can just feel the front loading up, and then I can feel the rear just moving around a little bit, and I'm in my own lane. I'm not doing anything dangerous.
And you're not going
Plod's
that
not
fast.
coming up. Yeah, I'm not going that fast. Plod's not coming after me. He's not going to do. It's brilliant. And there's the Alpine A110, which is I think that's a great car. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool.
That's
there's a car that keeps
car.
like popping into my head every now and then.
Yeah.
Going, I need to drive one. I drove one a while ago and I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it that much. I thought it was like cool.
You need to have a go in Litchfield's one.
I need to go and have it.
Because I had a go in
a few
that.
of his cars.
Yeah. I went down there a year ago and had a go in the Litchfield one, and they'd done the upgraded suspension, given it a bit more power, worked the gearbox, because I think the powertrain, the gearbox is like a good track dual clutch.
Yeah.
It was just not that sharp.
Yeah.
And Ian and the team have sharpened it up. It was really good.
Have you driven some of his other weapons?
No, I haven't. I've still yet to drive those crazy, because we talk about it on the phone all the time, those crazy Carrera S's where you can get near 600 horsepower. That's basically your cheap GT2, isn't it?
Well, yeah, if you think about the Sport Classic now. So the new Sport Classic, what's it? Rear wheel drive, detuned turbo engine. I think it's like 560 horsepower. It's just a number that seems to pop into my head. Like you can go and get and they're not the same. It's not the same thing. You don't get the kudos and it doesn't have the interior the same, whatever. But you could get a Carrera T, take it to Litchfield, give him 1,500 quid or something, and that'll have 580 horsepower, rear wheel drive.
Manual. Oh.
Like,
yeah, that's cool.
It's pretty similar, isn't it?
Yeah. In hindsight,
it's not the same because obviously it's like, but it's very close.
But then you got to think of it: Carrera T, narrow body, 911, less grip on the back.
But they're all wide now, aren't they?
Yeah, no, but the Carrera T was just narrow, wasn't it?
But in 992,
is a
4S wider than a 2S.
Yeah, they're all the same.
They're all the same, aren't they?
Yeah, they're all the same.
So a T is not narrow.
No, I'm talking not. You on about 991?
I'm talking about 992.
Oh, right.
991, yes.
Yeah, 991.
Yes, you've got narrow.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but
so yeah, less grip.
Yeah, less grip. Can you imagine that with 580 horsepower?
Must be quite interesting.
Yeah.
Must be quite because I feel like Ian he might still have a T.
Have you had a go in one yet?
No.
I need to go down there and have a go.
He's always got something interesting.
He's always
something
cooking.
Stupid.
He's always cooking up something.
That's enticing.
Yeah. I did have a go in something pretty stupid just before Christmas. You know Ricky, Living Life Fast?
Yeah, I've actually got some of these on my list to ask you about. I put driving a bunch of modified silly stuff.
Yeah.
What have you driven?
So Ricky, in case you don't know, Living Life Fast, he's got a JM Imports Nissan R35 GTR that runs, well, it's running 2,000 horsepower. It does it does 0 to 60 in 1.6. It's the most bonkers thing.
Rowdy.
And because, since then I do all the presenting for LLF Games. So obviously we do raffle giveaways on the cars. Yeah, I've been doing a lot, other than fifth gear, do presenting for LLF Games, which is pretty cool. So
it's quite an extreme difference, isn't it, in terms of the things you're driving?
Yeah, it goes from EVs to then modified cars. Just do them all, really. I mean, look, you know, I like driving everything. I've got to see what they're like. And I always like to be, you know, I'm always open to everything, whether that's EVs. Even I like reviewing normal cars. I like hopping in something that's ordinary and just working out if it's any good or not, you know? It doesn't have to be the latest and greatest and, you know, crazy super duper supercars and everything. I love that as well. But it's just everything, everything automotive.
And you can get nerdy about different bits, can't you? You're like,
yeah,
okay, I'm not excited about the engine, but like the use of space or the packaging and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's really geeky, nerdy stuff, but you know, it's cool.
So what do you think? So you've driven quite a few silly, let's say BMWs, like a 730 brake horsepower M140i or various iterations of that engine in different cars.
I've driven that car too much.
I've
driven that car too much. It's a good car.
Like, considering, does it cost quite a lot to do something like that to a car?
Yeah, it's about in excess of about 10 grand. So that one, I think you're on about the 730 horsepower one. That's a blue 5-door. That had upgraded turbo. There was a list of things that it had doing. One of which it had coilover suspension, but I don't think it was properly done up.
Right.
And I think there is a video of me going up the first 3 gears, and it was just that is extreme.
Was it fun?
It was fun, yeah. It's not. It is fun because obviously you've got a sudden build a boost. As someone who's a naturally aspirated guy, I like something that's not as powerful, a bit linear, something that I can wring its neck down a B road. It's a different sort of driving, and I don't think the chassis can take it. You know, it can't take it.
Probably not.
Probably not. But it's cool. It is really cool. And, you know, what's amazing with those M140i platforms is it doesn't take a lot to turn them into really serious cars. You know, really the main fundamentals is limited slip diff, coilovers, decent dampers, a bit of bracing. You know, you spend 5k, you've got a weapon there that'll keep up with Turbo S's, which is nuts. It's a 1 Series.
Yeah, that is nuts.
Yeah, I know. You know, and, you know, you can put M4 lower control arms. So, yeah, driven that. But then Ricky's car is a bit of a weapon. 2,000 horsepower GTR, which it wasn't running that day. It was running 1,400.
Is that quite a common thing? As in, like, or you could just run it at 2,000?
You can. It didn't have enough meth.
Okay.
And I always take things as a sign. I think there's a reason why we didn't put 2,000 horsepower in there. So he's been going about it for months. He's like, you got to have a go, you got to have a go, you got to have a go. No, I was cool. You know, I'm always up for the idea of having a go in it. And but they're not my sort of cars. Drag big high horsepower things. You know, a lot of people think that, but it's not. I do test them and see what they're like. So I got in this GTR, and the first 2-3 years, it's proper. I did feel like I was on stealth at Thorpe Park. It was that crazy. You sort of hold your breath, and it's running like Mickey Thompson drag slick tires.
Okay.
Brakes were upgraded, but we went for a B road drive in it. That was interesting. It was very, very interesting. It still felt like a GTR. It's not usable power at all. Not, you know, it's not usable power, and I think it's definitely a different end of drive. That's what people like. And what I find interesting is when I get to drive these things, and as you know, if you're not into it, it sort of lets you into those sorts of genre of people and what they're into. My God, they're nuts. They're bonkers. I thought I was bonkers. They think I'm bonkers. They're bonkers. So no, it was cool. Got to drive some cool modified stuff. The one I liked particularly over the last few weeks is a B7 RS4. Got to drive that supercharged one and a PES supercharger, 530 horsepower. What I liked about that car is B7 RS4, 414 horsepower as they came out of the box. That car is probably too over gripped. It doesn't have enough power for the chassis. Yeah. That supercharger, which is about 10 grand's worth, wakes it up, makes it a bit more amusing to drive, way more amusing, and then getting that nice supercharger whine. But more importantly, it keeps up with the modern traffic, you know, like an M3 F80, not F80, G80. It'd be right up there with it. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, doing that with Ricky on LLF Games, and like I appear on his channel as well. And then I still do my bits on my channel, just when I'm bothered.
I love seeing people taking these cars and doing all the stuff that I just know I just wouldn't do. Like not for any other reason than I would just sell it in a year and buy another car. So dumping a bunch of stuff, a bunch of money into it.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do it, but I love it when people do a build that's just mad. Just I like seeing it done.
I rate it, and it's cool. It's cool. It is really, really cool. I mean, like the amount of 140s and Golf R's that come in on LLF Games, and you think someone spent some serious dough on this. Serious dough. We had a Golf R that came in 7.5. That's, I think, you know, whenever it's probably it'll end the raffle, but that had like OZ Ultra Leggera wheels and you know, upgraded turbo Technics, hybrid V3. So it had a Turbo Technics hybrid turbocharger. It's running like near 500 horsepower, something like that. But it's had serious dough spent on it. And what I liked about it is I checked, we'd gone to get some shots for the car. And then at the back, there was a copy of Evo magazine. You can always tell by the owner. If they got a copy of Evo magazine, I trust them a bit more, and you can tell. Do you know what? This person likes driving because you got a copy of Evo magazine, so you definitely like. You're interested, definitely. But it's nice to drive those sorts of realm of cars. Would I do it? To me, my sort of mods is exhaust, suspension, good geo, good brakes, braided lines, which is, you know, I'm more of a chassis man. But then at the same time, if I had something like a E63, like your car, I would think, because they maybe, I don't know, run it at 800 horsepower just to see what it would do. It does, yeah, it does. There is something cool about modifying cars, but I'm not you're the same. I'm not into the whole wind deflectors and 4D plates and tints. I know that's what people like, and obviously if that's your thing, good luck to you, but it's not my sort of thing. I'd much rather it just look OEM, so maybe looking a bit stockier on some spacers, maybe a bit stockier, just to
good stance,
just to let people go, he's got something a bit beefy there. But other than that, I'm pretty much leave them alone.
I'd like to, because I think it's always interesting to pick some of these cars, whether it's a M240i or whatever, that's had a bunch of stuff done to it, or whether it's an older S4 that's had a supercharger or it's been chipped or something, and then you compare it to the newer RS4 or something.
Yeah.
Just, I would like to drive or have driven a lot more cars like that to get an idea of where I think they sit in comparison to other just straight OEM cars.
Yeah.
And go, oh yeah, is a slightly modified this the same as or better than, the more expensive OEM car, or across a little bit, maybe a Cayman of a certain type versus a 2 Series that's been juiced up, so it's actually a bit more rowdy and probably a bit faster, but doesn't have the chassis. I think it's really interesting to get more data points.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm going to start doing on the channel. I'm doing or reviewing a Cayman 718 2-litre, but it's had loads bit. I think it's got upgraded turbo, upgraded exhaust, Öhlins dampers. It's got on it.
Nice.
Apparently, this thing can run rings around a Cayman GT4. So I think we're going to do a video around that, because obviously that's an entry level car.
Yeah.
But obviously it's running Öhlins. So we're gonna film that and see what that's like. But I'm very open to try and modify just slightly done up cars, and seeing how they drive. Definitely 140s. There's lots to modify on them. You can have whatever, it's a very highly tunable engine, that B58 straight 6.
Yeah.
If you've got it, well, most of them come with the 8-speed anyway. I think the one mod that I definitely do on the 8-speed is the XHP Stage 3 gearbox software map.
Okay.
It's still a torque converter, but it gets near enough to a dual clutch, because there's nothing wrong with the 8-speed ZF, but I think it's just, I think town speed, it's just, especially on the down change, that's my pet hate of the new current M3.
Yeah.
I think powertrain wise, I'm sure they've got their reasons as to why they went for a ZF.
It's rubbish, isn't it? It's not rubbish. That's taking the whole thing extreme. I think it's an awesome car, apart from the front. But I think it's an awesome car.
Rare
but the
on,
gearbox just does. You just go, yeah, but if it was the DCT, that would just have a bit more snap.
Not just that, it's a much more premium powertrain. You've got the 8-speed ZF in the M3, and then, okay, that doesn't, to me, it doesn't feel too dissimilar to a 340i.
No, those cars they drive a bit different, but they are kind of similar.
Which falls all the way back to what we were saying earlier about the C63.
Yeah.
There needs to be a certain difference in models in the range.
It does, because you've got to go, I want to spend that extra amount. Now, I think with the M3, there's a reasonable amount of distinction in terms of
styling wise
and whatnot. But yeah, like to go that extra bit, whether it's an RS6 or whatever, to go to the full fat bad boy, the more distinctions, the better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just, if you had your regular 3 Series M Sport, you saw someone with an M3, ooh,
yeah,
M3, that's the daddy. And to me, I think it's a small problem in the M3, and it's not going to annoy. A lot of people don't find a gearbox the issue. It's not a problem. If anything, it makes it better to live with. But to me, it's just, you've got quite a racy power, like a racy engine, turbocharged engine. I just want that snap from a dual clutch. I feel like we're going backwards in terms of gearboxes. I feel like broadband to dial up.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It just takes, it's like going back to the Fiesta. Like, it doesn't take much. And I think, like an i20N, I reckon they could tweak the suspension, setup, geo, all the stuff to make it more like a Fiesta.
Yeah.
And it's only small little things that like add to making it greater than kind of like the sum of its parts. Or you start to see the whole picture in a better light.
Yeah.
And like the M3, if the gearbox was just a bit more, doing something, and it's good, it's fine, but it doesn't add to the experience.
No. I don't think it's a bad car. There's only two problems for me with that car. It's just gearbox and the front. I still don't like the front.
No, I don't.
I don't like it at all.
I think it's a really good car.
It's a very good car, especially now you got the Touring X-Drive. It's all you want,
like, it's
really.
Fun. It is a fun car to drive.
Yeah. I'd go for I'd
go X-Drive.
Yeah, same. I'd go X-Drive.
Which is weird.
Yeah, do you know what? It gives you, it still feels rear driven in X-Drive mode.
It does.
You go in X-Drive 4-wheel drive sport. It still feels very...
Maybe not. I don't know. I enjoyed driving the X-Drive a lot. Time-wise, we've got to start.
We need to crack on. We're rambling on, as always.
I normally give you 5 questions. I'm not going to give you 5 questions because you've done it a few times. Most undervalued car at the moment? Tough question.
Undervalued. V12 Vantage, Aston Martin.
I'm guessing not the new one.
No. Yeah. Is it a new car?
No.
Yeah.
I was just like, joking. But I
yeah,
agree. That's what are they now?
80, 78.
Still?
Yeah.
Still. They've been that amount of money for like, I don't know, 6 years?
Yeah. And I think that's a cracking car.
I think that is a cool car.
I mean, I've got a love for the DBS because I'm a bit of a Bond fanatic, but there's no question about it. The V12 Vantage is a better car. It's got a great engine, great chassis. There's a hot rodness to it.
Silly engine in a small car.
Brilliant. We need more of them.
Before they disappear. I think we're starting to see it a bit.
Yeah, it's fading away.
But like Porsche, they put a GT3 engine in a Cayman. Mental.
Yeah, they won't. I don't think they'll do that again.
Well, it will be an EV.
Yeah. So yeah, V12 Vantage. I'm sure there's other cars.
Yeah.
But that's the first that pops into my mind.
Most interesting car to you at the moment?
Most interesting.
What are you Googling? What are you looking at? What's an Auto Trader?
What one that catches my eye?
Yeah, just what are you looking at?
Do you know what? First generation R8 V8 manuals. I really like them.
There's a lot of chat about those at the moment.
Late 30s, V8, NA.
It's a cool car.
Great. Looks stunning.
Manual, gated
brilliant.
gearbox.
That's great car.
Amazing looks.
Looks brilliant.
Supercar.
But then you get, the Bradford mushies. Oh, it's not quick. My Gulliver's quicker than that. Do you know what I mean? It's not that quick.
So what?
Yeah. So bloody what?
Yeah, but is your whatever is just being beaten by a Model X Plaid?
Exactly. If you want to play that game, you're going to lose anyway.
Yeah.
Especially amongst the EVs. So yeah, R8's definitely the car. Even the V10 Plus first generation manual's quite good. There's 458.
Nice.
That is, you can sell that as a new car.
I look at those now and go, because I've always had a want for a Speciale. Who doesn't, join the club?
Yeah.
But there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money now. A 458 is still a lot of money, but it's a lot less. But it's an NA powertrain. It's not that different to a Speciale.
No.
It's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You're talking percentages, like small percentages difference.
Yeah, and I
maybe
don't
collectability or whatever, but you're getting pretty much the same thing.
And it's
they're cool.
They're cool. They're brilliant to drive. You can use them. They're more usable than you think. Magna Ride, bumpy road mode, dual clutch gearbox, pretty reliable. Great looking car. I think one of the best looking mid-engine Ferraris of the last 10 years for sure. And I think whether you go convertible or coupe or Speciale Aperta or Speciale, I don't think there's a bad one in there in the 458.
Cool. 5-car garage.
Oh, why are you doing this to me, man? It changes on a daily basis. I think It's definitely a singer. I'd love a DLS singer.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
That's one.
Tick.
Rolls Phantom Coupe.
Nice.
Series 1. I want it in a Johnny English spec. You remember Johnny English 2?
I don't remember the car.
He had a Rolls Phantom, midnight blue with cream interior. I want one of them. That. I want an original V8 Aston, like the one in the Living Daylights.
Yeah.
I want one of them.
Boxy.
Yeah, boxy one.
Yeah.
Fog lamps.
Some sort of practical.
Oh yeah, I need to do that, don't I?
So you've got 2 slots left.
2 slots.
You've got 2 slots.
Urus. No, I'm joking. I was going to say. Yeah, I was going to do. Could you imagine that? No,
I could.
Cool. And me and a Urus.
Yeah, with your yellow jacket.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Matching.
Yeah. Oh, that would match it, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would look a bit. silly. What else? 599 GTO. I really like that car. I've never driven one. I'd love to drive one.
Cool.
And
big, but cool.
Big, cool. Hang on, I've got to take that away now because I need a practical car.
You've got 1 slot left.
Yeah, but that slot's going to be filled with an LFA, so something's got to go now.
Okay, something's got to go.
Oh, well, practical. You can do practical shit in a Phantom.
Yeah, you can actually.
Well, there you go.
No problem.
Yeah, done.
LFA.
It'll change. Yeah, LFA.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that is. It'll change. It'll change next week. It'll be some sort of something else.
Yeah, it'll change tomorrow. It'll change in 5 minutes' time. That's the nature of the beast.
That is what you call the life of a car lover. Yeah.
Well, thanks very much for coming on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me along, Sam.
It's been good.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll do this again in 3 more years' time.
Yeah. Record another. What were we? 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Sweet.